Hi guys. In this video, we are going to discuss the organ systems. You have already learned about most or all of these organ systems already through the presentations given by your classmates. We're going to spend this time reviewing the organ systems and expanding them with a little bit more notes. You're going to find your note sheets for these organ systems in your packet on pages 13 through 17. So please make sure you're there and ready to follow along and fill in any blanks. The first system we're going to talk about is the digestive system. The purpose of this system is to take in food through the mouth, break it down mechanically and chemically to release nutrients. So the key here is both mechanically and chemically. Mechanically means basically chopping it up, grinding it down. That starts with your teeth in your mouth. Chemically involves several different things, but it involves the stomach acid in your stomach, it involves bile from your liver, and other things as well. All of this is done so we can get the nutrients out of our food. That's the whole reason we eat food. So as you can see, there are several different organs in your digestive system. And actually, if you're looking at your packet on page 13, there's even more than just these that you need to know. But basically, after food comes in through the mouth, down the esophagus, it goes straight to the stomach, where the stomach acid really works to break down the food. It then goes to the small intestine, which is hidden really back behind all this stuff. Down here, you can see the small intestine very well. The small intestine is where the nutrients are actually absorbed. Then it goes into the large intestine, your digested food does, where all the water is sucked out of it, basically, and back into the body. Finally, it comes out the rectum in the form of waste. Moving on, the respiratory system. The function of this system is to breathe in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Or put more simply, just to breathe in and breathe out. Here's a pretty simple diagram of the respiratory system. As you can see, you start with the nose and the mouth. This is where air first comes in and starts to be filtered. It goes through here, down through the trachea, which you might know as the windpipe. It also passes through the pharynx and the larynx. And you can find these definitions again on page 13. You've already heard about this, so we're not going to go over it completely. The air is diverted to the lungs through the two bronchi, the right and the left bronchus. And then these smaller bronchioles are in the lungs, and they're diverting air to the alveoli. Alveoli is where the oxygen goes into the bloodstream and where the carbon dioxide comes out of the bloodstream ready to be breathed back out through the mouth. Next up, we have the circulatory system, which relates very closely to the respiratory system. The circulatory system delivers the oxygen from that respiratory system, as well as nutrients from, you guessed it, the digestive system, to cells all throughout the body. The circulatory system also removes carbon dioxide as well as any waste from cells. So basically, you can think of it as like the mail carriers of the body. It carries all of the things to the cells that are needed, and it takes away everything that's not. So here's a really good diagram of the circulatory system. As you can see, the main part is the heart, and without the heart, the circulatory system cannot function. The heart beats, and with every beat, it pumps blood throughout the body. Blood with oxygen in it goes to the body through arteries. As you can see, that's red. At specific body organs, the blood goes through tiny little blood vessels called capillaries. And in these capillaries, the oxygen is transferred to the body, to the cells that need it. Nutrients are taken there as well. Finally, the blood that is oxygen poor, which means the oxygen is out of it already, it's been removed, goes back up to the heart through the veins, where it's pumped to the lungs. Next, the excretory system. And this is on page 14 if you haven't already found it. The excretory system's function is to take away liquid waste from the blood. So, you guessed it, that's pee or urine. Basically, take all the liquid waste out of the blood and store it until the body can excrete it again in the form of urine. This diagram here shows just the basics of that excretory system. As you can see, you have the blood vessels, specifically the aorta here. You have the blood vessels coming through to the kidney. And what the kidney does is it filters that blood for all of the waste that we've discussed. So the waste is taken out of the kidney and it's taken through a tube called the ureter all the way down to the bladder. The bladder is where pee or urine is stored, where this liquid waste is stored. When you feel like you really have to go to the bathroom and you can't hold it for much longer, you guys are always telling me you have emergencies. That's because your bladder is full of urine and it needs to be emptied. So when you empty your bladder, when you go to the bathroom, the urine goes through the urethra. It's important to remember the difference between the ureter, which is the kidney to bladder link, and the urethra, which is what you actually use to go to the bathroom. Alright, the musculoskeletal system is to provide structure and support for the body, as well as control voluntary and involuntary movement. Some people might think of this system as two different systems. For our purposes, we've put them together because the bones and the muscles work together so closely. Here we see two different pictures. This one on the left mostly has to do with the muscles. And as you can see, there are three main types of muscle cells that we're looking at. Cardiac muscle cells are found only in the heart. Skeletal muscle cells are voluntary. That means you move them. You choose to flex your arm, for example. You choose to kick a ball or something. Smooth muscle cells, on the other hand, are involuntary, and those are found inside your major organs. So your stomach churns food to help break it down, but you don't think about moving your stomach. It does it on its own. That's involuntary movement. Secondly, looking over here, this is a really good picture of both the skeletal system and how the skeletal system connects to the muscular system to make the musculoskeletal. Bones obviously are the main part of the skeletal system because bones make up the skeleton. But there are a few other parts as well. Cartilage helps to hold bones together, but it also is found in areas such as the nose and the ear. If you've ever wondered why you can wiggle around your ear, it's because it's made of cartilage, not of bone. You have tendons as well. Tendons connect muscles to bones. So you can see that in action right here. There's a tendon connecting the bone to the muscle. Ligaments, such as the one down here, ligaments connect one bone to another bone. So that's the difference between tendons and ligaments. The nervous system. In my opinion, this is the most interesting of all the systems because that's what I got my degree in college. The nervous system, the function is to communicate between cells, control responses to stimuli, and signal all movements. So the one thing here that might not be common sense is control response to stimuli. What that means is if you hear something, if you see something, if you smell something, the nervous system determines how you respond. So if you hear someone, screaming for help somewhere, your brain will interpret that. Your nervous system will interpret that and help you decide what to do. Here's a picture of the nervous system. And there's three main parts that you need to be aware of. The brain, obviously, is the big one. The brain makes all the decisions in the body. And without the brain, none of the other systems would be able to function. The spinal cord down here is like an information superhighway. The spinal cord is actually not our backbone. The spinal cord is not what's holding us up. The spinal cord can be found inside the backbone, and it's basically a huge nerve, a bundle of nerves, where all the other nerves of the body come into. So these nerves of the body, again, carry messages to different cells, to muscles telling them to move, from receptors on your skin, letting your brain know that maybe you've been burned or something. These nerves relay all messages. Finally, we're almost there, guys. The female reproductive system. The function of this system is to produce the eggs in the ovary, transport these eggs to the site of fertilization, as well as grow and nurture a baby if fertilization of the egg occurs. The other thing that happens is if there's no fertilization, menstruation, or the period, happens in the female reproductive system. So there are several different parts. The ovaries produce and store the eggs. The uterus is where the baby grows if there's been fertilization. And then the vagina is the female sex organ. And again, all of these definitions are in more detail in your packet. Finally, last, the male reproductive system. Its function is to produce, maintain, and transport sperm cells. Remember, we've learned in the past, sperm cells and egg cells come together to make a human, a new life. The male reproductive system provides the sperm cells and releases them into the vagina during sexual intercourse. And here's a picture of the male reproductive organs. Again, the testicles produce and store the sperm. The sperm are released through the penis during intercourse. And again, detailed definitions could be found in your packet.